Hey guys, Kathy at Northstar Prepsteader. Well, it's a bright sunny day and I was able to get more apples. So I'm going to show you how to use a steam juicer to make some apple juice and applesauce all at the same time. So even though I used all the apples from my trees for other projects, I was able to get some Honeycrisp apples really cheap. And so I got 3 half-peck bags. So I have a peck and a half, which is almost half a bushel. I think 2 pecks is half a bushel. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is wash them up. And so I've got some water in my sink. I'm going to add some lemon juice to it to help clean the apples. And I'm going to just dump these apples right in. A lot of apples. Well, I have to get started peeling them and slicing them up for the steamer. Now I wouldn't have to peel them. I could just separate them after they're all done in the steamer. It does turn the applesauce pink if I leave the skins on, and for this particular batch I don't really want to. Now I left the skins on when I made apple butter because that turns really dark anyway, and I just went ahead and separated the skins from the pulp, the mush, and I was able to make apple butter from that. But this one I'm just going to do plain applesauce, which I'd like a light color on it. Okay, so I'm going to take an apple and peel it. Now granted, if I did it the other way, I'd probably retain more of the apple. You can also use one of the handy dandy little apple peelers, or like you put them in a thing and crank it around and it peels it for you really quickly, which would be nice right now. Alright, so then I'm going to take my wedge slicer, go through it, and these apples are all ready to go. I'm also putting them in a bowl of cold water with lemon juice in them. Alright, I'm all done. I have 2 full bowls that are cut and ready to be put into the steamer. It took me about an hour to get through all these apples. Now I do have a full bucket of scraps that I could use this to make some apple cider vinegar. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do that or not. I just don't have time this week, but I may have to wait for the next time around. Otherwise these will go in my compost. Okay, so this is my steam juicer. Just the cover. Here's the basket that holds all of the fruit or whatever you put in here. You can do vegetables too. But that's what's going to hold my apples. Then I've got this reservoir area that all the juice comes down in, and then as it fills up, it will flow out this tube. Until I have enough in there, I will keep this clamped shut so that we can not have to worry about it just flowing all over the place. The one nice thing with this clamp is that I can hook this onto the handle and it keeps this up until I'm ready to pull it down, so it's just not all hanging down in case it would end up dripping. But this keeps it up and out of the way of the flame and people bumping into it. So we're going to take this off, and the bottom section is where I put the water in, and I can fill the water up to just about to this rim. As this is juicing, you want to make sure that the water doesn't get too low, otherwise it can end up burning the pan. But I've done this before, and one round of juicing, I maybe used this much water or something, so I'm not concerned about that. But this is nice and heavy duty. You can see it has a little notch here where the hose can fit in for the other piece. Alright, that should be enough water. And I'm going to put in just a little bit of vinegar just to keep the stainless from getting dark and everything. It just keeps it a lot cleaner. You don't want too much because you don't want the flavor going up into your apples. And now we're going to fill up the basket with the apples. And yes, I want the water to drain out, so this is totally fine. The lemon water was just strictly to help keep them from getting brown. Okay, now this can get filled up to the top, but just not heaping over the top of the edge, because it will start to bubble and boil. So this is perfect. I thought maybe I'd have too many. This is great. And I set the basket into here and put the lid on, and we'll turn the heat on. I'm going to put it on medium because you want it to come to a boil gradually. You don't want it to all of a sudden go, whew, you know, just a really hot heat there. You want it to come to a boil just really gradually. So I've got it on medium right now. All right, I can hear that it's bubbling and boiling in there, so I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. You want it just enough so it just keeps the simmer in there. Now this is going to take about 45 minutes for it to start really producing any juice. In the meantime, I am going to get set up for the jars here. I'm going to get a stool here and get set up and get my jars all clean and ready to go. I forgot to mention that if you like your apple juice really, really sweet, you can add a little bit of sugar to the bottom of that reservoir before you get things going with that. Even if you forget, you could probably sprinkle some around in the apples as they're cooking away. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be lifting the lid off, because it is steam juicing, and every time you open that up, it loses its steam, it loses temperature, so you want to just leave it alone until the juice stops running. I just like the juice plain. I don't like it all sweetened up extra with sugar. I might add a little bit to the apples for the applesauce, just because I'm extracting so much juice out of it, which is like the sweet stuff. Okay, I've got my stool. I do have a 2-inch board here because I know the height I needed, and a pot, and then I have a pint jar inside. If you want to preserve these in quart jars, certainly use a quart jar. I will be using a pint. Well, this has started coming out, so I'm going to give you the first look here. There we go. It's very hot. So what I do is I squeeze this, and it releases the pressure on the hose, and the juice can come down. Oh, it smells so good. You want to be very careful not to get this on you because it's extremely hot. It's been cooking for maybe about a half an hour. I'm sure if I let it go another 10 minutes or so, that little reservoir would have filled up. Okay, this jar is as full as I want it to get. So I'm going to remove this. It's very hot, so don't handle it with your hands. Okay, I've had my steam canner warming up here. And so what I'm going to do is just keep these in here to keep them warm. You can see how light that is in color. Well, it's because I don't have any of the skins on the apple to give it a little deeper color. It's also very, very light fleshed, but it smells amazing. So I've got this water kind of hot, and I'm just going to keep them covered. This helps to keep any fruit flies out of here or anything like that too. And I'll just keep it warm until I have all my juice, and then I can can it. Okay, this is the 4th pint that I'm filling, and it is really, really slowed down. So I think everything is done in there. I'm going to turn the heat off, and we're going to close this clamp up. And I'm going to get out what's in the reservoir. So now I can actually take the cover off, and you can see where it's at here. See how much they reduced? It was up to the top before. These are still a bit firm, so I'm just going to give them a stir here so we can maybe get a little bit more juice out of these. But it has really reduced. It's down to like half now, and it's getting mushy in there. Still not really where I want it to be for applesauce, but we'll give it a little bit more time. I'm going to cover it back up. I'm going to turn the heat back on and see if we can cook it a little bit longer. Okay, I took off the top section, and we will deal with that in a little bit. But right now I want to get the rest of the juice out of here. So I have this middle section, which has the reservoir in it, and you can see there's a lot of juice in here. So right now I'm just going to pour it right into this pot, and then I can put it in the jars much more easily. So you can see it still holds at least another whole pint. So don't ever forget about what's left in there if you feel like you're not getting very much. Now, because what was in the reservoir has a little bit of apple fragments that came through, I'm going to strain this as I go into my jar. Alright, filled up that jar very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and seal it up right away so it's ready for processing. Alright, I've moved my steam canner over to my bigger burner so I can run it. And now I need to seal up these jars. This juice is very light. If I do this again, I might just keep the skins on because I like the color. I cleaned off all of the rims of the jars. I put the lids on and put the rings on, screwed them to finger tight. Now I'm going to just put the heat on. This is my steam canner. It has this little gauge on top. So when that red dial gets up into the green, then I can start my timer. I'm going to add just a little bit of water here, maybe half a cup. If I need more later, I'll add more. This is fresh ground cinnamon. So just put a little bit of that in there. Cinnamon is sweet, so you don't have to add nearly as much sugar. Because I extracted the juice out of here, the juice is sweet, so I'm going to add a little bit of sugar here. Again, maybe about a half a cup. We'll see what it tastes like when I get finished here. My immersion blender. Still some big chunks in here, and it's really pretty thick. So I think I'm going to add just a little bit more water to it. Take a little bit here and let it cool so I can taste it. That water around here a little bit more. And you can make it as chunky or as smooth as you want it to be. Oh, that tastes really good. So this is pretty much smooth, although there are some big pieces here. Like there's a big piece. I don't necessarily want a big piece like that. I don't mind little chunks, but I don't want a big apple wedge in there. See if I can find any more of those wedges. Here's one. All right, I think we are good to go. So the steam canner for the juice is already ready to go, and I've got the timer on for that. That processes for 10 minutes. And while that's going, I'm going to start filling my jars with the applesauce while it's hot. And by the time I'm done with this, the canner will be ready. And again, I'm just going to steam can these. You can water bath can them, it's the same thing. And these will be done for, the applesauce has to be done for 20 minutes because it's so much thicker. But look at that, isn't that beautiful? Beautiful, beautiful sauce. So out of one batch, I got juice, I got sauce, and if I wanted to use the peelings for apple cider vinegar, I'd get that out too, using every bit of the apples. I'm going to can this up in different size jars just because I will have different uses for them. Oh my goodness, this is like the best looking applesauce I have made. It's just beautiful. So because of how thick it is, we want about a 1 to a ½ inch head space. So these are pint jars. All right, what you want to do is kind of pound them down, make sure you get out any bubbles. You can also stir it around, make sure everything's taken care of. So we don't want bubbles in here. And as thick as it is, we could get some. All right, I'm going to clean these rims right now and just set them to the side. I don't want to put the lids on yet because they could end up self-sealing because it's so hot. So I will wait until the other canner is almost finished. Here's a wide mouth squatty pint, as a friend of mine calls it, the squatty pint. Okay, the steam canner is done, did its 10 minutes. And then I had to let it sit another 5 minutes with it turned off so that the jars in the canner could sit for a little bit. I can take the top off. You can see how it steams everything up. It does a very nice job. All right, I'm going to transfer them over to the counter. Whenever you're taking jars out of a canner, no matter what kind of canner you have, it's good to have a towel underneath it so you don't drip hot water all over. So So let's finish getting these applesauce jars ready for the canner. I keep everything in a sink of hot water. Okay, I got a total of actually 7 pints worth. So I have 4 pints and 6 half pints. So it gave me about 7 pints of applesauce and 5 pints of juice. Now because I'm running another load right after I did the other one, I had to refill the water to make sure that it was up to the level that it was supposed to be at. Once I have the needle up into the green area on the dial, I'll process it for 20 minutes, let it sit for 5, and take it out. All right, the applesauce is all done processing, all nice and steamed and canned really, really well. So guys, it's dark now. It gets dark so early at this point. But anyway, thank you so much for coming along with me and checking out how to make apple juice and applesauce. Did a steam juicer and steam canner. It's been wonderful. Those are 2 new things for me this year, and I am really, really enjoying it. You guys take care. God bless. Always have hope, and we'll see you the next time. Bye.